We remember the Mass Effect trilogy for the fights, the romance, and the storytelling, but we try to forget the colonies that went silent, facilities that never should have existed. There are locations in this trilogy that don't just challenge you, they traumatize you. And in this video, we're going to revisit 7 locations that did just that. If you haven't played the Mass Effect trilogy, I'd like to give you a spoiler warning for this video. With that out of the way, let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about Zhu's Hope. In Mass Effect, as you desperately pursue Saren, you'll eventually head to Pharos, where you'll encounter a colony known as Zhu's Hope. You might notice tension there, conflict between the colonists, and general odd behavior, but it's easy to write this off as stress due to the Geth presence on the planet. As you travel deeper into the planet though, you'll learn about Exogeny, a corporation that has a powerful presence on this planet and who seem less than enthusiastic about your presence there. As you fight off Geth in an effort to protect the people of Pharos, you'll discover several horrific truths. The primary being that there is a powerful and ancient creature on the planet known as the Thorian, which has infected the colonists of Zhu's Hope, brainwashing them to defend it and serve it. As if that weren't awful enough, you'll learn that the Exogeny Corporation was aware of the Thorian's control over the colonists and had chosen not to intervene, instead viewing them as a quote-unquote control group for research. As you make your way back to confront the Thorian, you'll face the colonists, who are willing to fight to the death to protect it, as well as monstrous, zombie-like beings known as Thorian creepers, who mindlessly and aggressively attack you and your squad mates. Not only does the Thorian colony force you to confront corporate malice and mistreatment of unknowing victims, but in many ways, the powerful and ancient presence of the Thorian, and its willing to use populations as if they were entirely disposable, is a clear warning of what's to come in the future with the Reapers. And no doubt, Pharos was terrifying, but our next location is a facility built on human experimentation. We're going to talk about the Teltin facility on Praja. The Teltin facility, located on the planet Praja, is an abandoned Cerberus facility that was used to test on biotic individuals, including your teammate Jack. You'll learn from Jack how horrific her experience was at the facility. Her time there was full of torture, mistreatment, isolation, and cruelty, all quote-unquote justified by Cerberus for their research. As you enter the facility, you find stark, empty rooms with blood stains on walls and floors, serving as permanent reminders of the horrors that happened here. And as you travel through the facility, Jack shares with you her memories, including having been used to fight to the death against other biotics, and attempting to harm herself in hopes of escaping. The bleak location very much reflects the horror stories that she shares with you about the place. And what you learn as you reach Jack's old cell is that she isn't the only person who has returned to the facility in hopes of finding closure. Where Jack wants to blow up the facility, you'll meet someone who wants to ensure that the data from the facility is preserved, claiming that Cerberus wouldn't have done what they did to them without a good reason. The location serves as a haunting backdrop for 2 characters processing trauma in very different ways, and it's no doubt one more addition to a long list of reasons not to trust your employer, Cerberus. Our next entry, the Derelict collector ship, will give you a whole different type of nightmares, especially the moment you realize what the collectors are actually doing. We knew exploring the collector ship would be unsettling. We're told going into it that the ship has been found disabled, but somehow that doesn't ease our discomfort with entering it. This ship is massive. The ceiling areas are covered in what looks like hives or egg sacs, and portions of the floor are covered in bodies and body parts. It's coming face to face with this that makes you really understand what the collectors are doing to the people they've kidnapped, and how little care they have for the people of the galaxy. While witnessing this filthy, disturbing ship, you'll be forced to confront how daunting and dangerous your mission is, what a ruthless enemy you're up against. Add to that the fact that the ship is not absent of enemies. It leads to a desperate fight by you and your squad to escape, and it will have you questioning not just your ability to complete your mission, but also whether you can trust the elusive man who sent you into this trap in the first place. Our next location proves that you don't need aliens and alien spaceships to make true horror. Let's talk about Planet Aite, the setting of the Project Overlord DLC. Project Overlord covers nearly every element of horror, from atmosphere to storyline. You're tasked with dealing with a rogue VI that has taken over a Cerberus facility. But as you explore the planet and facility more, you come to understand that there is much more to what has happened. You'll explore buildings that feel absolutely alive, with doors opening and closing without your input, enemies and environmental hazards appearing seemingly out of nowhere, pushing you away from your intended location. The sound made by the VI through radios and the noise in stations in general is like distorted shrieks, ensuring you always feel on edge. Of course, It's the tragedy of the narrative that really makes this location so memorable. You learn that the VI that has been haunting you is a human victim who has been forced to interface with the Geth. He suffered greatly during this process, and what makes it all the more painful is the discovery that it was his own brother who forced this on him. This mission, similar to other Mass Effect missions, explores the themes of human experimentation, something that is extremely disturbing. The horrifying buildup from the atmosphere only adds to the intense feelings of sadness, leaving you feeling emotionally drained when you are completing this mission. Honestly, I struggle to replay this mission when I'm replaying the trilogy. Let me know in the comments, do you skip Project Overlord or do you play through it? We're gonna continue on with this theme of horror between humans with our next location, 2175 Aeia. In Mass Effect 2, you're approached by your squad mate Jacob with coordinates to his father Ronald's possible location, 2175 Aeia. The planet itself is habitable, with coastal areas, and it's here that you find what remains of Ronald's ship, the Hugo Gernsback. You'll discover by searching through the remains of the crashed ship and interacting with survivors that the crash occurred many years prior, and that Ronald has seized control. His powerful position was attained through keeping safe food from the ship for himself and forcing his crew to eat toxic food from the planet, which can cause memory loss and neural decay. He then exiled all of the men from the crew and forced the female crew members into positions of servitude to him. It's also indicated that Ronald had many individuals killed, including other people in positions of power, so that he could consolidate all of the power for himself. The female survivors who interact with you struggle to communicate because of this neural decay and memory loss, and react in fear to seeing Jacob, who they express looks like Ronald. And the male survivors have become quote-unquote feral, attempting to attack Ronald's camp and stalking the area around it. When confronted, Ronald shows no regret for his actions. He lived luxuriously for years while his crew members suffered at his hands, and he failed to send a call for help because he wanted to maintain his position over the remaining crew. Unlike what you're usually up against in Mass Effect, Ronald isn't a cosmic threat or a twisted monster. He's a human who has chosen absolute power and his wants over the safety and well-being of others. That kind of realistic evil is very unsettling. Next, we're going to talk about a location in Mass Effect 3 that is truly the stuff of nightmares, especially if you have a fear of deep water or the unknown. We're going to be talking about 2181 Despoina. Desperate to tip the scales in their favor in the war against the Reapers, Shepard has come to 2181 Despoina in hopes of communicating with Leviathan, an immensely powerful ancient being. 2181 Despoina is a planet made up entirely by ocean, dark and stormy waters that are dotted with abandoned mining platforms. It is an unsettling location, especially for anyone who, again, has a fear of deep or unexplored waters. This is only made worse as you realize you'll have to travel alone, deep under the surface of the water to locate the Leviathan. The water is extremely dark, and you drop far below the surface in only a deep sea mech suit to protect you from the pressure of the water and whatever creatures lurk below the surface. Add to that the question that haunts your mind as you dive deeper: do I even have enough power to make it back to the safety of the mining platform? You finally hit the bottom, perhaps a moment of relief hits you, only to realize that you'll need to go deeper to find your probe and Leviathan. The water is lit only by flares that you occasionally launch, and the flashing of your probe is not necessarily reassuring, because it means that you're closer to Leviathan than you've ever been before, and you don't know what to expect. Rising bubbles precede the mass that is Leviathan, a huge creature that communicates with you through your mind, accessing memories and people that you know. You feel completely vulnerable, not just because you're deep in the ocean with only thrusters to get you out, but also because this unknown being is speaking to you, showing you its power. It's just lucky for you to escape this situation alive and hopefully have encouraged Leviathan to join your fight. Now, we've seen ancient alien beings controlling colonies, experiments that destroyed lives. You'd think we'd seen it all. But one location that hits different than anywhere else is Vancouver when the Reapers have started their attack. The beginning of Mass Effect 3 really exposed us to the massive power of the Reapers. They attack Earth in force. Within seconds, we see them taking hold of massive cities like Vancouver. Commander Shepard experiences this attack in the city, fighting desperately to make it to their ship and to protect civilians and soldiers alike alike who have been entirely shocked by this attack. There are Reaper forces on the ground, as well as in the air, destroying Alliance vessels before they can fight back. This is really our first exposure to how big this fight is going to be, and from the jump, we see that humanity is entirely on the back foot, as are all of the other races in the galaxy. Playing as the super powerful Commander Shepard, we aren't used to being on the back foot, and we aren't used to feeling like we don't have much of a chance of survival. It makes you feel vulnerable, scared, and for the first time, not super optimistic about how this game will end, and it leaves us shaken to our core. And that's just the beginning of the game. It's kind of all downhill from there. I think it's safe to say that each of these locations has stuck with me for a different reason, but they all share the feeling of being haunting long after I've turned off my PC. And now I want to hear from you. Which Mass Effect location messed you up the most? Please drop your picks in the comments. If you enjoyed this trip back through Mass Effect locations we all tried to forget, consider leaving a like. If you like more content like this, please also consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.